Travis Day, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, dude, it's a pleasure. So Travis is a human design expert. And for anybody who doesn't know what human design is, well, you're about to fuck around and find out today. And if you do know what human design is, then you understand the power that is in it. And Travis has given me a reading on my human design, and it was really freaky to see how accurate this stuff is. It's not just like normal astrology that you can say, oh, this kind of applies and this doesn't. It's freakily accurate, and it is way more in tune with other universal laws. And I mean, he can explain it way better than I can, but I'm really excited to dive into it. So welcome, Travis. It's good to have you, dude.
Yeah, thanks. I love hearing the resonance in people. It just continues to prove it over and over again for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how did you initially get into it? What's like the quick origin story?
I went on a Bumble date, and she said, hey, we should look at your human design. And I was like, okay, that sounds interesting. And pulled it up on the internet, read a paragraph, and felt like I had been seen for the first time in my life. And it just hit me like a freight train. It just rocked me. And I said, there's no way in hell anybody knows this about me. And it came from my birth time. Mm-hmm. And it was just on a piece of paper. So it was really kind of like a shattering experience of allowing me to feel the truth inside of myself and be okay with that, because I'm like, well, if this says it, then it must be true. So that was early 2020, and I haven't stopped studying since.
Awesome.
Yeah. And that's what my design says. I bump into things spontaneously. This is how kind of opportunities come to me. So I've had many moments in my life where it was seemingly a spontaneous encounter that's changed the direction that I've gone in.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So for people that don't know what human design is, and I'm sure you could give either a short answer or like an 8-hour long answer
or
to like
no answer.
Or no answer at all to like what human design is, but can you give an overview of it and sort of how it ties in like these other like laws and things?
Yeah. So this man in 1987 had an 8-day encounter with what he calls the voice, where he was penetrated by a voice. He had a revelation, and this voice pretty much instructed him and told him all of these things about how the nature of the universe works, what consciousness is, and then gave him a design. It's kind of like an algorithm almost of how our life force energy operates as human beings. And within that, you can see how you're meant to meet opportunities, how you're meant to be in relationships, how the natural flow of your energy is going to work, how much energy you have. Are you here to be satisfied and work hard and really get joy out of that? Are you here to guide other people? Are you here to manifest? There's all these like really deep nuances of things we can see about you personally. And the name of the game, I think, is how do I eliminate resistance in my life? It's how do I step into more flow where I actually can use my energy in a very efficient way where I'm not meeting a lot of control. I'm not meeting people trying to get in my way. I'm not trying to force anything, but I'm just kind of flowing with life and being rewarded for doing what I love. So human design can really help us see, well, where are you out of alignment? It's really helpful if you're meeting a lot of resistance, which I was in my early years. It's not working for me. And so human design was like, well, here's your map. So it kind of gives everybody a map of how to align to who they naturally are and reap the benefits of that.
How were you out of alignment? And then how did understanding your human design, like describe that period of time in your life?
Sure. So we have these 4 different types that you can be. And this is kind of the first thing you'll encounter when you pull up your human design chart. You're going to get your type. And so we have 4 types. We have the projector, which I am, which is about 20-something% of humanity. We have the generator and the manifesting generator, which make up about 67%. They're technically considered the same type. There are some major differences between those two. We have the manifestor, which is Tony. They're about 9%. And then we have the reflector. So we have these four basic types. And type, you can think of it like a vehicle. So he was told, we're riding around in these physical vehicles, and there's 4 different ones that we can have. And when we talk about type, we have to talk about the aura. So each aura works very differently. So if we're going to compare me and you, Brent, you're a manifesting generator. You have an open, enveloping aura with this manifesting generator vehicle that you're operating in. Me as a projector, I have a focused and penetrating aura. It only works one person at a time. It works very, very differently. But because the majority of people are generators and manifesting generators, we think what's normal is to have this open, enveloping aura. So I, as a young man, was very much trying not to be a projector because it's weird, because we don't fit into this what society says is normal or is going to make us successful. So I was out of alignment by trying to force and trying to be someone that I'm not, because it is such a different experience of life if you're not a generator. Manifestors kind of similar. So if you're a generator or a manifesting generator, we say you kind of hit the energy lottery in this life, because it's really a world that's generated by you and built for you in so many ways. And if you're outside of that, then there's just other things that you have to understand and not try to play the game of the generator. So as a projector, I was playing the game of the manifestor and the generator, trying to be someone else.
So what do you mean by that exactly? So like you have to focus on one person at a time? Like describe what that means.
Yeah, sure. So we're all pretty much conditioned to go out and get it. Manifest the life of your dreams, work really hard, put in the hours. And that was the track I was on. I was posting hustle culture memes on my Instagram. I was like pretending to work 16-hour days as an entrepreneur when I wasn't, I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, no one really works this much. Like there's no way you can consistently work this much.
I kind of work that much.
So that doesn't surprise me. I couldn't, that's for sure. So I was kind of like, I was just pretending, and I knew I was pretending, but I thought something was wrong with me because I felt lazy and I felt like not productive enough. So the projector isn't here to get satisfaction out of a hard day's work. It's not in us, and we're not here to be the initiators to go out and manifest the life of our dreams through mentally coming up with something and then going out and getting it. The projector is really here to guide other people. And our strategy is to wait for an invitation to make sure that someone sees us before we offer our guidance and our wisdom so that it actually lands. So I was completely of the thought that I wasn't good enough and I'm going to go manifest the life of my dreams like I was told I should, and it did not fucking work. It just didn't work. I tried for so long, and I had all kinds of health issues, which is so common for projectors. By about age 30, our bodies are really hitting a wall because we burn out faster than any of the other types.
Is that because you're trying to work in misalignment with your body, or you
100%.
just generally burn out more?
I think so. We have I'm kind of getting into advanced stuff already.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Send it.
All right. So we have, out of the 4 types, 2 are what we call energy types. The generator and manifesting generator are here to use their energy in a way that makes you satisfied. That's the name of the game. If I'm using my energy and I'm fucking satisfied with how I'm using it, it's like heaven for the generator.
Okay.
The manifestor is, I'm here to impact people with my energy. Different type of aura, really impactful, strong type of aura. So your question is really like, who and how do I impact in this life? But it's very much an energy game. And then we have 2 non-energy types, which is the projector and the reflector. My question is really like, who are you? I'm really here to focus on somebody else and help to guide their energy to a successful whatever. So this is the major difference, is that I fulfill my purpose not through the use of my energy, but through my awareness and what I see. So projectors see things in a very deep way. We understand relationship dynamics. We understand people. We see potential. We see like possibility in everybody. So this is our major gift. And when we try as projectors to play the energy game, our body isn't built for it. And you can see that in the chart. And we have these different centers. We can get into all of that stuff. But you can just see in my chart, I'm not designed to consistently be in my in an energetic expression. It comes and it goes. So if I'm consistently trying to play the manifestor game or the generator game, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
I'm going to meet a ton of resistance and I'm going to feel exhausted. And then I'm going to think something's wrong with me. And then what do people tell you? You're just not working hard enough.
Yeah, you're lazy.
You're lazy. You need to go harder. So then I went harder and it was even more resistance. And I'm like, why the fuck is life so hard? This doesn't make any sense. And I don't have as much money as I want. This is kind of the major thing for everybody. Like, how do we manifest material stuff into our lives in an easy way?
Yeah. The one thing I know about projectors is that you guys need a lot of rest.
Yeah.
You have to, you can work in sprints. I'm doing it. I'm in alignment, but then I need to really just chill and be silent or sit down or do something that's reinvigorating for you. And I feel like everybody needs that, but it's probably more for projectors. So
100%.
So now that you know that about you, what have you done to put yourself in better alignment?
Yeah. So human design, like all these other systems, can be really dangerous for people because you can take it in just mentally and then try to start to figure out, how do I use this? What do I do with this? And it's again putting me into a state of wanting to manifest my life with my mind. So if you boil human design down, the core principle is our minds are never supposed to make a decision for ourselves, for our own life. Our mind is here to communicate, to share our uniqueness, to solve problems, to measure things. It's a beautiful thing. But when it comes to what am I going to do with my life? What am I going to do for work? Who am I going to be intimate with? Where am I going to live? That has to come from the wisdom of our body. So he was, and you can see this in the chart, it's the first system where you can really see your unconscious and your conscious. We are a consciousness, a soul that comes from wherever, but we're riding around in a physical body that comes from the earth. And the physical body is completely unconscious. We don't have access to the wisdom that lives in here. If you cut yourself, it heals. You don't mentally figure out how you're going to heal your injury. It just happens. So our bodies are doing amazing things. And human design is like, okay, we need to give the authority to control our own life back to the body because it knows where it's going. I don't know where I'm going. I'm just riding around in this thing. I'm supposed to be the witness and enjoy it all. So that's kind of like the core principle of it. So the first thing that I did as a projector was, I feel seen. This is telling me I'm not lazy. It's telling me that I'm actually recognizing the truth of who I am. I can be successful, but in a different way. And the first thing I had to do was, for a year, I did nothing. I was working in the restaurant industry for on and off for 10 years, just like grinding to make money to try to do something else, but I was too tired really. So I was still paying the bills with that, but when I wasn't, I was napping. I started to take baths. I used to never let myself take a bath because I had this voice that was like, you're lazy. What are you doing relaxing? You have money to be making or you need to try to figure it out. So for the first year, I really just said, fuck pretending. I'm just going to honor what feels good for me and let my body do what it wants. So for that first year, I healed like lifelong health issues. I had stomach issues. I had autoimmune stuff. I had skin, weird stuff with my skin. I had acid reflux since I was like in middle school that they couldn't understand what was wrong with me. So I had been searching so long for a diagnosis. I had been doing all the food sensitivity tests and all this crazy stuff. And within a week of finding out I was a projector, it was gone and it has not come back. So for me, the first thing you got to do, and the first thing I did, was just let yourself fucking relax and love yourself when you're doing it. I used to sit down on the couch and try to relax, and my mind would be like, "You're lazy. You should be doing something." So it's not really resting. I was never really relaxing. I was in a constant state of stress because my mind was, like you said earlier, was not in alignment with my physical vehicle. So it creates this dissonance, which creates stress, which perpetuates this loop of my body's fighting itself or fighting the other half of me. So that was the first thing I did, was just to allow myself to relax for the first time and start to heal these health issues that I had.
How did you start to, so after about a year, were you starting to get like a itch to do something? And you're saying, don't listen to your mind, listen to
listen to the body.
And how did you like hear your body?
Yeah. So that's a great question, because that's exactly what happened. After about a year, I'm like getting bored. Like I feel an energy start to like come alive. It's who I am started to want to express itself for the first time, because when you're operating from the mind, you're really not allowing the natural expression of you just come out, which is so natural. It's easy, but you're just piling on and getting in your own way. So after about a year of healing myself, I started to come alive for the first time and start to figure out who I actually was. And then I started really sharing about human design and how it's like, wow, this is really life-changing. And I never had an idea that I was going to be talking about this or teaching it or giving readings, or my mind was actually telling me, you're never going to get a reading. This is fucking weird. You're not this guy. This isn't a thing for you. But it's interesting, so we can keep talking about it. And then, fast forward, here I am doing it just because it completely lights me up, and I'm a great teacher at it. And it's just materialized. It's like I've just watched my life start to unfold in a way that I can't comprehend. And I don't plan, and I still think it's weird.
Which seems to be the MO for projectors.
Totally.
Right? Yeah. Kind of like you have to be invited. It's like this thing is inviting you into the life.
Sure.
It's funny. Mary and I were laughing about, you went to a projector dinner. It was like a bunch of projectors. Yeah. We were like, who sent the invites? They can't invite. Like, they have to be invited to things.
We can invite each other.
Oh, is that the rule?
Yes.
Okay.
So there's no, so between types, the reason we have to wait for the invitation is because if I deal with you or with you, and you don't want my advice, my aura can be really penetrating. Projectors, we call the not self when you're operating not who you are, you're operating out of the mind. Not self projectors love giving unsolicited advice because we see things and we want to, our life is like, let me fix you.
Right.
Let me help you be more efficient. And if you're not invited, people are like, fuck, get out of here. Fuck you. I didn't ask for that. I don't want to be seen in that way. So that's kind of like the MO for not self projectors. But between projector to projector, our auras are the same. We penetrate at the same level. Yeah. So we can go deep with each other. It's not weird because we have the similar experience of life.
Yeah.
So between us, it's like we're both seeing each other at in such a deep way that the invitation isn't as important as it is with an energy type.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Sounds like we're talking about Pokemon.
I love that.
He's an energy type.
It does.
I'm electric. He's fire.
Okay, talk about manifestor. He's a manifestor. Yeah. And then people listening, there's probably a bunch of manifestors.
9% of them.
9% of them.
Not that many. Yeah.
So how does he gets energy by making an impact.
Yeah.
So what would that be? Like examples for manifestors to think about this in their life?
Yeah. So I really love the question. We each have an existential question that drives our existence. So Tony could be very much like, what kind of legacy do I want to leave in this world? How do I really want to impact it? How do I want to impact people? And we say that they have these kind of creative urges where manifestors are really here to bring something big and new into the world. And the resistance that they run into typically is that their ideas are huge and they're really scary. And they may even tone them down to try to make it make sense to people or to try to seem like, I don't think I'm too big or, something like that. So I always tell manifestors, you really have to go after the thing that scares you the most. And the manifestor is the only true initiator where their life isn't really dependent on anybody else. They're extremely independent creatures. They're kind of like a wild animal that's inside of there that does not like being controlled. So the worst thing you can do for a manifestor is try to tell them what to do. It's like, forget about it. You don't control me. I'm an independent, powerful creature here, So they're extremely independent and they're meant to bring these big ideas into the world. They meet resistance because of their impact if they don't inform people what they're going to do before they do it. This is kind of the biggest resistance that manifestors will meet. So their strategy of how do I make everybody else chill out is called informing, which is just, I know, okay, let me take inventory of when I do this action, who is it going to impact in my life? Okay. And of those people, who is it important for me to let them in on this before I do it so that they don't freak out or they don't give me shit after it's already done? So this is kind of like the strategy of the manifestor, which never feels natural or normal for them just because they're independent creatures.
You're saying that we should be informing
as
people.
Much as
yeah, that feels very foreign to me. Yeah. And I get mad when people say, you should have told me about this.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck you. I don't even tell you shit. Fuck off.
So
that makes a lot of sense.
What's an example? What would be an example for you? Can you think of where someone was like, oh, you didn't tell me?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it happens more in relationships. Like sometimes with Mary, and I wasn't yelling at you, Mary, just relax. But like,
because you're super independent and you've always done your own thing, so you're not used to telling somebody.
I'm just used to doing shit.
You're independent.
So like, and societally, there's a voice in my head that's like, oh, you should tell people what you're doing. So maybe that's like my inner manifestor that's like, hey, informing is your thing you're supposed to do. It's like, hey, maybe you should tell people. But then I think like, is that just an external voice telling me that I should be telling people, or like that person telling me I should be telling people? And I understand the value of informing people because it is impacting someone in some particular way. So it makes perfect sense, but it's unnatural to me. So I'm like, I'm just moving about my life. Like, I'll give you a specific example. I stayed at Mary's house, which is also kind of your house now. And we were watching Severance, final episode, crazy. And I wasn't planning on staying the night because I wanted to get a good night's sleep. And I was like, okay, I'm going to leave, bye. And she was like, well, I thought you were staying the night. And it's like that led to, I didn't inform her.
Yeah.
So there's a small example, right? But to me, I didn't even think about it. I'm like, I'm just here and then I'm going to go home. Right. And that's a small thing, but it can impact people. Okay, when you were saying the thing about thinking big, here's my take on it. I personally feel like I don't think very big. I feel like I think pretty fucking small. My goals and my dreams and aspirations, I feel like they're tiny in comparison to other people's dreams, goals, and aspirations. So then what I've been trying to do recently is like, how do I think bigger? How do I be more creative on bigger visions? I feel like Brent has huge visions in comparison. And I'm like, I'm just kind of doing some shit for like next year, right? I'm not thinking 40 years down the line. So my visions and dreams and goals are really not massive. And I also feel some shame around it. So maybe that's something around the manifestor that needs big dreams. Like I should be thinking bigger than I am, but I've been possibly conditioned by society or by myself or whatever. Things have gone on in my life that I don't think very big.
I think this is one possible thought I have.
What's your theory?
Is based on what he's saying. He thought he was one thing and he couldn't figure that thing out until he had a lot of space. And then he had space to let that thing come out of him because he could be in alignment with the type of person he is. And because you have a job where it's like, you don't have any space to do that. Like you don't. You have to be in kind of like work for somebody and 100% focus on it. So how can you really dream?
Yeah.
Like you don't really have the space to do it.
No.
So like he took a year off and then all of a sudden it came out of him. So it's like, I imagine if we ever get to a place where we're, making passive income where we do have space, I think it could show, like if you go to like 3 different festivals and you got time off and you could travel more and chill, like ideas might start really coming. Yeah,
ideas do come up more and I feel more in my creative flow when I have space. It's 100% accurate. Just like we were just talking about with Rebecca, like you have to have the energy and invigoration, but like around people, but then you also have to have the space to process it. And if you only have one or the other, then you're missing both components. So I have all this energy, but I have no integration time. Yeah. So I think your theory is pretty accurate.
Because you work and then we do this, and then you get like a half a day with Mary or something.
Yeah.
And you're just there's like no space at all.
Yeah.
And maybe it takes longer for you to like really deep think, like really feel and think long.
Yeah, because I can't drop into thoughts. Yeah. Like I need to spend 3 hours in silence before my brain goes, okay, you can calm down now. Because otherwise it's just running through work and processing and podcast ideas and thoughts and blah, blah, blah. Like nothing is, there's no chill time. So interesting points.
That was so beautifully said because it is, I think, about space. And even when we're talking about the manifestor, it's like, do we think or do we create space to have these creative urges come through you? Like in my opinion, it's like, I'm not thinking any of this. It's just like, it's like coming through us.
Yeah, we're just vessels.
We're just vessels filtering whatever. And yours are waiting for you. But if you're clogging it up with never any space at all, how is it supposed to get in? We're busy kind of blocking it with our minds, trying to figure out who we are and trying to figure out how to have big ideas. One thing I've seen also, it's interesting. It's not interesting. It's very common to hear. Like manifestors don't really realize the impact that they have on people.
Yeah, I'm totally oblivious.
They're in their own aura. They have closed and repelling auras. This is the aura of the manifestor, and not repelling in a sense of you're a repelling person, but your aura is like if you don't want people to mess with you, it's like, get the fuck back. Like it will push back against other people's auras. This gives impact. But you're in your own protective mechanism and you can't witness your own impact because you can't step outside of it. So when you were talking about like not saying you were going to spend the night, it's like, why? So many manifestors are like, why would you even care? Like, what you want to know what I had for lunch yesterday? Like, what? It doesn't fucking matter, you know? Like these little things to you, like just don't mean anything.
Yeah.
But your aura is just so naturally impactful that you can't hide, you can't get away from it. But a lot of manifestors, you don't get a chance to witness your own power in a sense.
Yeah, I don't know the impact until someone tells me.
Bingo. Yeah.
How did this dude come up with these 4 different things?
He didn't come up with it. He was a messenger of this revelation of eight days.
And then did he just start writing it down?
Wrote it all down, drew it out. He was in Ibiza. He was in Ibiza.
While he had this?
It's so interesting to have a revelation in this time because it's all recorded. And he has videos on YouTube called The Encounter with the Voice. And anybody listening,
and we can watch this.
You can watch it. And human design is so pop now that not many people even tell you where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody working in human design, you need to come to terms with the fact that you're dealing with information that came from a voice in an 8-day encounter with a Canadian man in Ibiza. Okay.
Well,
after a bunch of ketamine.
A 10 strip.
On a bunch of ketamine?
Yeah. After.
I believe it more, to be honest.
But he thought he was going nuts. And this is why I love this man, because you can go watch the YouTube video and he's like freaked out himself. He's like, you can tell he's authentic. He's not bullshitting. There's no way in hell when you get deep into the system that anyone could have ever figured out how it all fits together. Mm-hmm. So it's mainly the I Ching, 64 archetypal themes of what it is to be a human that the Chinese figured out a long time ago. It's the Hindu Brahmin chakra system, and we're now 9-centered beings, not 7. He was told that. It's hooked together through the Kabbalah, the tree of life, and then we use Western astrology for the imprinting part of it. And you see the mandala where we have the 12 astrological constellations. We have the 64 gates of the I Ching. We have the chakra system in between, and then we have the Kabbalah that's connecting all the centers together. There's no way in hell that anybody could have come up with this.
Yeah, it's like the universal law, and you couldn't just put these pieces together. They have to be connected.
They had to have been, and that's what he was told, is we're moving into an Aquarian time where it's the end of our age of information in 2027. This is what he was told. And it's time to bring all of these esoteric ancient wisdoms together so that we get the most holistic picture of what the fuck's going on here. And he was like, after it happened, I had to tell somebody, like, what do you do with this? You know?
Yeah.
And he was like, if this doesn't work, then I'm probably dead, or I went crazy or something. But he was like, it fucking worked. And science has proven a lot of the things that he was told. And it seems like as we get closer and closer to 2027, there's more things coming out that are literally word for word what this man's been talking about since the early 90s.
What are some of those predictions?
So he was told that in 2027, we're shifting the background frequency of the Earth. We go through these 400-year cycles as human beings, and every 400 years, it clicks a little bit and a new frequency comes in. It gives us a next theme for another 400-year cycle with what we're supposed to accomplish in our evolutionary step. So 2027 is the shifting point, and he said we're moving from what he called the cross of planning. The last 400 years was all about building institutions, the bargain, making promises, pretty much globalization, supporting each other, sacrificing for the greater whole. And he was told that the reason we're in the cross of planning was to get to a population number that would be great enough to bring a new species into the world. So you need a lot of different genetic material in order to have a mutation happen in our physical bodies. And he also said global warming is part of that. You need heat as well. So he said anybody that's fighting against global warming is trying to kill you because we actually need it.
Fucking liberals.
Knew it.
So this is what he was told. He said at the end, you're going to see the breakdown of institutions, the breakdown of government. No one's going to know who to trust anymore. You're not going to know what to believe and what not to believe. The school systems are going to break down. There's going to be food shortages. There's going to be a bird flu. There's going to be a pandemic. He was told all of these things. And the craziest thing most recently that I think you can't it just proves it to me. Like for sure is the podcast that Telepathy tapes came out. And he was told that these new species being born after 2027 are here to bring a new type of consciousness into the world. But the kids that are being born we're going to think there's something really wrong with them. They're going to be extremely autistic. They're going to be nonverbal. They're going to lack any sort of, or not any, but a lot of muscular development. And they're just we're going to think they're very autistic. And what he said is once you get 5 of these kids together, what we call a penta in human design, a group of 3 to 5 or even more, once they come together, they're going to turn into what he called a conscious penta, where they're going to have instantaneous emotional awareness between each other. And this group is going to come alive. And it's going to take on a whole other role in this life. And if you listen to Telepathy Tapes podcast, they literally, these kids, it's like they're already here, you know? And when they speak, they're like, we're not telepathic, we're merging consciousness with you. It's like a sharing of consciousness, and they do it with each other. So this, like and this is what I really want to do, is get like some content of him speaking about it and then having the kids on this podcast speak about it and be like, what the fuck is happening here? You know, like, how do you deny that?
Yeah. That's so crazy. And it funny, it aligns perfectly with what we thought aliens were going to be. Because if you look at human evolution, we were big, brawny humans and we had little brains. And over time, that's shifted as we've become more advanced. Our brains, if you look at like the musculature and skull sizes over the last thousands of years, brains have gotten bigger and bodies have gotten a little bit smaller. We became more hairless, right? And so if you follow that trajectory, then what are we going to be? Big-brained, super hairless, skinny creatures. And that's kind of what we said aliens were going to look like in like most sci-fi, right? It's like big head, hairless creatures. Maybe
calling autistic people skinny, hairless, big brain human beings?
Kind of, yeah. Because the other theory is that aliens are just humans that are super advanced, right, from the future. And they've already made it out to space because time is not linear, right? So we've already gone to space, but those aliens are just humans from maybe 1,000 years from now. Right. And now they're looking back at us through time. So they've figured out, multi-dimensional like time travel or whatever. So maybe that's what the new species is. Like these autistic kids, not that they have giant heads, but their brain power is stronger. They're not using verbal. They're not used, like you said, less muscular tissue. Yeah. So they're falling into line of what that previous prediction of what aliens would look like. And maybe they are telepathic. Maybe they have telekinesis or whatever. Like they have more brain power and less body mechanism.
Yeah, they're 100% telepathic. That just proves it in that podcast. And I think we're on a journey to eventually just transcend the body. And I don't know what the fuck that looks like. I like my body.
In the Telepathy tapes, did you hear the part about where they meet at it's like called the mountain or something?
The hill.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
Well, when Ra talks about this conscious penta where they all click with each other and something else happens, that's what I thought of when they talked about the hill. I'm like, holy fuck, they're already doing it. They're meeting each other in another realm, in a telepathic realm. I don't know if this is like the precursor to what the actual mutation is going to bring in 2027 or if it's already happened.
Yeah.
That's what I'm not sure of. But maybe I think, and this isn't necessarily a human design thing, but I really think that they're here to bring us into more harmony spiritually.
How so?
Maybe even with nature. It seems like we're all, a lot of stuff we talk about in human design is 7-centered versus 9-centered. So prior to 1781, we were a 7-centered vehicle. Our chakra system was 7 centers, and it was really focused on survival. And it was really focused and strategic in what we would come up with to do to survive. And part of that is lying. We say in human design, lying is a very strategic adaptation for survival and for getting what you want and being manipulative. It was just who we were as creatures. After 1781, when we turned into 9-centered beings, we're now not focused on that anymore. We're now focused more on our consciousness. and how we relate emotionally with people. And it's like about the spirit now. It's such a different way of life. But so many of us are still stuck in the fear of the seven-centeredness. We call it the seven-centered hangover. So when I look at the world, it's like, fuck, why is it going so poorly out there? Like, it doesn't need, we have so much. Like, why are there a few people at the top and everybody else is kind of suffering? Why are there people still starving? It doesn't make any sense. Like, it could be solved really, really easily. So part of me thinks like these kids are coming into the world. We're going to have to take care of them. They can't take care of themselves. But if you've listened to that podcast, they already have these profound things to say. That is much more about harmony, much more about taking care of each other, much more about connection, much more about like the focus isn't on survival anymore.
Yeah, shifting out of like an individualistic view into more of a community-based tribal view.
Yeah, I think it's more of a selfish versus helping each other or working together.
Right. Okay.
There's all kinds of theories not theories, but principles of like, if people just realize that we're not in competition with each other, like that, we could be so successful. Yeah. And the whole like survival of the fittest, and we used to think trees were fighting for sunlight, and now we realize they're actually helping each other and giving, like
trading
each
nitrogen
other
back and forth.
Nitrogen, I think it's that whole principle. So I don't know what they're here for or what the hell it's going to look like, but I can hope and speculate that it's here to kind of help us get the fuck out of our own way.
One of the things I heard that was on the telepathy tapes is that I think that one of the researchers was asking something like, well, are they evil voices or crazy voices, or the moms talking to some of the kids, and basically saying that I can't access this ability unless it's like they're in a place of good or something along those lines. Like they can't even access it or be able to do it unless they're like good or pure thoughts, which I thought was interesting. And like I think many different ones agreed that like, yeah, you can't do evil in some ways. Like it's kind of blocked, which is interesting, meaning maybe that area you enter is like a frequency that can't have other frequencies like negativity or different thought.
Yeah, I love that.
It's interesting also in that where they said they want to start to build centers, and all I could think of was like X-Men, and then who's the guy who like
Xavier?
Yeah, and just like him running it. And they're like thinking of like cool, because they're like, we could bring these kids together and we could like decipher ancient tablets and work on all these crazy projects. I'm like, holy shit, this is totally X-Men shit. That's so cool.
I think that they are our only hope to compete against AI.
Yeah.
AI is advancing extremely fast. We need humans to advance extremely fast. And this new species is our only hope to have the level of intelligence and brain processing power that AI can do.
I don't think we'll beat AI. But I think we'll be able to
put your trust in the autistic kids, Brent. I
think they may help us figure out how not to kill each other while AI advances.
Maybe it'll help integrate the AI so that we can survive and thrive.
I think AI is just like a thing, and but it's the human beings who have the potential control to fuck everything with it, I think.
Totally.
Right? Like
operating in the way we've been operating.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. AI is just going to do what humans tell it to do. So you got to program it wrong.
So they could,
it's our fault.
Like you're saying, like maybe they can help us change our perspectives on how we should be as a society so that no one does something crazy with that kind of power with the AI. And then all of a sudden we're like enslaved by robots, and robots don't give a shit. They're like, you could be alive or dead. I don't give a shit. Like, we're just going to do whatever's productive. And you kind of tell us what's productive in some ways.
Yeah. I like that too.
So we pulled up Brent's chart earlier, and we know that he's a manifesting generator, a 2-4?
2-4.
Yeah. So can you explain, this was really fascinating to me when you told me about this, but the numbers 1 through 6, and then the divide between 3 and 4, like explain what that means, and then kind of what Brent's thing is.
What is the deal with this guy? What's the deal?
Why this guy's so fucking weird all the time. Yeah. I have a list of things on my phone of weird shit that Brent does.
Oh, really?
100%.
I bet we could find all of them in his chart.
I bet we could.
All right, let's do it.
I always get like I'm a huge Office nerd, and there's a quote where Michael looks at Toby and he's like, "Why are you the way that you are? I hate so much who you choose to be." And he goes off, and I'm like, "This is so perfect. This is human design." design.
That's hilarious.
Just fucking design that way. So when you pull up your human design chart, you're going to see a fucking graph that looks like a tablet you need to decipher. It's actually not that complicated. And this is your energy. This is your characteristics of how your life force works. And this is what gives you your type, whether you're a generator or whatever. Then you get what you call the profile. And these are two numbers put together. So you're a 2-4 profile. So think of the profile as like almost the costume that you're wearing. It's more like your character, whereas your type and everything that's happening in the chart are more your characteristics, your energetic characteristics. So it's like this flows through the costume. And when you're out of alignment, the costume doesn't really fit very well. So the more in alignment you come, it's like getting your suit tailored. It starts to fit really well. So we have these profile numbers, and they work out of the hexagrams of the I Ching. So we have 1 through 6. The first is at the bottom, and we can just kind of run through these, and I'll give you just a little taste of what you are when we talk about your personality. So first of all, the first number is your consciousness. It's what you're aware of. The second number is more your body. It's your unconscious, but other people may see it more in you than you see it in yourself. So we start at the 1, which is me. I'm actually the very base profile. I'm a 1-3, so this is the first profile you can have. And the 1 is the investigator. What is your
1-3, baby?
You're 1-3 too.
Yeah. So was Ra.
And so no, Ra
Right?
was a 5-1.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah.
Never mind.
He's still got the investigator, but so the 1-3 is like the most self-absorbed profile you can have. We have all purely
I feel called out.
yeah. But I'm like, oh, this is why my dad thinks I'm selfish. It's like it really gave me an interesting perspective. So, well, let me break it down first into the two parts. So the 1, 2, and 3 are what we call the lower trigram. The 4, 5, and 6 are in the upper trigram. The lower trigram is all about personal destiny, research and development. It's like being in the lab. The 4, 5, and 6 are what we call transpersonal. It's more about getting the information out and spreading it to our network, or being the heretic and telling people a practical solution to bring us into a better future, or being a role model. So you can see that there's 6 numbers, but they're broken into these 2 distinct trigrams. Now, the 1-3 is the only profile that has both the numbers in the lower trigram. So it just makes sense. We're in the lab. We don't get to come out very often. It's hard for us even to understand that there's people out there. We have limited opportunities to really transpersonalize what it is that we know. So the 1 is what we call the investigator, and we're here to dive really deep into information. We love to study things. We can be really, really insecure when we don't know a lot about something, because that insecurity keeps us digging deeper. I have to find out more information so that I can try to establish a solid foundation, because the 1 is the foundation of everything. So as humans, we're here to learn. Cool. And that insecurity piece was so helpful for me in realizing I actually know more than I give myself credit for. I don't need to have imposter syndrome. Like, I've studied enough. I can start to talk about it now. It's okay. I don't need to know everything about everything, because that's never gonna happen. So I like to deep dive. I like to study. Then we get to the 2. The 2 is very different. The 2 is what we call the hermit. Or the naturally gifted person, where things just kind of come easy to you. You'll have a knack for certain qualities depending on your design. The 2 likes to, a lot of the time, be left alone just to do its own thing. I need alone time so that I can discover what I'm naturally gifted at. I can play with it. I can really get into what comes natural. So we have the hermit that likes to be left alone. It thinks it's alone, but from the outside, people are projecting onto it. So it's like people are seeing your natural gifts almost better than you can see them. So 2s can be very much like extremely gifted photographers, or extremely talented artists, or they have something that they're so good at, but it comes so easy that you don't think anything of it. Or you think it's like cool or whatever, but other people look and they're like, oh my God, dude, do you realize like how actually gifted you are at this thing? So the projection is they're trying to pull you out of the hermit shell to come share it with people. And that can be its own process, and we'll talk about the 4 and why that's so weird. So 2s are these naturally gifted hermits who over time need to discover what comes easy and how actually it is a huge gift. And so you'll meet opportunities in your life from people trying to pull you out. The 3, which is our next number, this is our body, our unconscious. The 3 is about trial and error. 3 is called the martyr because we bump into a lot of stuff and we're here to figure out what doesn't work. So this was another big unlocking for me. I was told that, no, you need to know what works. You need to give the answers. Don't make any mistakes. That's not good. The 3 is here to make mistakes. It's learn by trial and error, learn by doing, fall on your face. There's a huge resiliency built in the 3 so that we'll get up and do it again. We just have fucking resilient bodies. But we do meet a lot of, correctly bumping into shit. Like I bumped into human design and wow, now I'm on a whole other path. Mm-hmm. Just bumped into it. So 3s are called the martyr because when it doesn't go well, we're like, why me? Why again? Why am I having to learn this fucking lesson again? Why can't I have any stability? So it's a weird one because the 1 wants a solid foundation and the 3 wants to blow it up. It's the anarchist. It's the one that's like, if something's not working, we got to burn it down. I don't necessarily have a solution.
Amazon stores.
Exactly.
Tony's like, burn them.
Burn it all down. He's like, start a fresh one. Burn the ships.
That's hilarious because that's what we want to do.
It's super accurate, the whole 1-3 thing.
Yeah. So that's us. We're 1-3. We're in that lower trigram. We're self-absorbed. We're in a personal destiny process in this incarnation, and we're here to be in the lab and learn as much as we can and then test it out. So in relationships, I always say, we're not here to nurture the relationship. We're here to test the relationship. We're here to see like what's not working. Where are the weak points? How do we move?
I'm just doing what my human design says I should do.
Yeah. So that's the 1-3. Then we get to the 4, and this is the first number in the transpersonal process. So the 4 is what we call the networker. The 4 loves to share things with its trusted people. The 4 needs a level of intimacy with other people so that it knows, okay, there's a reciprocity in this relationship. And the 4 is what we call the opportunist. So you're always looking for opportunities in relationship with other people by networking, by trusting each other, by supporting each other, whatever it is. So when we put the 2-4 together, it's one of the weirdest ones to have, what a stark difference the 2 and the 4 are. We have the hermit and we have the networker. So 2-4s are like, am I a people person or am I a fucking hermit? Like, do I hate everybody or do I need to be around people? And so 2-4s can be so, when they hear about their profile, they're like, this makes so much sense because I never know like what's the right balance. And it's like, are people the problem or the solution, or are they both for me?
Do you feel like you resonate with that?
Yeah, because like even today, booked all these podcasts and I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to fucking talk to any of these people. And then I get here and I'm like, this is so awesome.
Yeah, that's super true about you. It's like social things, you're like, I don't want to fucking do it. And then the moment you're there, you're like, this is great.
Sometimes it's not, but usually it flips.
Yeah.
Usually, like even when I go to train clients, I'm like, I don't want to do this, I want to do this. And then because I was with like training clients for like 2-3 hours, I'm like, I feel so good. And if I didn't do it, I'd probably be in a worse mood.
And the funny thing is you're so like training effortless to you. Like social situations also effortless to you. What you were saying about people projecting onto him, I feel like I try to force you into social situations because I'm like, I see how fucking good you are at it.
Yeah.
But then met with the resistance. I think it's all making sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's they say the most social demand of any other profile is on the 2-4, and it's so important for you to know when to set a boundary of when to be social and when not to be social.
He's pretty good at setting boundaries on social stuff.
Yeah,
yeah, but that's it. So it's like, wow, how it's helpful to know that you're both. You're not one or the other, and you'll actually suffer if you don't have the relationships and you're just the hermit, and you'll vice versa. If you don't take alone time, then you're going to suffer socially. So yeah, we have the 4. I always tell people if you don't have a 4 in your profile, I feel like society really like applauds or says like, ooh, good for some parts of your chart. And then other parts of your chart, it's like, no, not good. Don't be that. You can't be that. And in my experience and what I see is like 4s are really like society considers that normal. To be the networker, nurture the relationships, check in with your friends all the time. Like this is what's considered normal. And if you don't have a 4 in your profile, it takes so much energy for me to keep in contact with people if you're not in it. And 4s seem to have an effortless or just like a mechanic in them that's really good at keeping in touch or really good at networking or really good at nurturing. So when I work with people who don't have a 4 in their profile, it's like a huge unlock of guilt and shame and like, fuck, okay, I don't have to feel bad that I didn't check in with my friend last week or something like that, you know. And their friend's a 4, and they're like, I don't understand why you don't connect with me as much as I want to from you. So, yeah, that's been a big.
And then you go to 5, 6.
Yep. And then we get to the 5, and the 5 is what we call the heretic. The 5 is also projected upon, but in a completely different way. So 5s come into the world with projection of that they're going to be perfect, that they're going to have a practical solution to bring to whatever problem I have, or you're going to be the perfect partner, or you're going to be the perfect employee or the perfect daughter. So 5s get this positive projection of people that is designed to bring them opportunities. And 5s can really get stuck when they're trying to fulfill the expectations and projections of other people that don't fit for them. So 5s are really good at putting on like a song and dance, making themselves look really nice to fulfill the projections of people that they're perfect or whatever it is. So 5s really are about practicality. And if they don't have a practical solution and they try to go out and fulfill it, it's not going to go well and their reputation can really suffer. So 5s can be a little bit paranoid of people. Like, what do they want from me? Because they feel these projections on them, especially if it's a 5-1 versus a 3-5. We have it on the personality or we have it on the body side. So the 5 is this heretic, and a lot of pressure rests on their shoulders. And we actually, it's so different than the 4 because we say for the 5, friendship breeds contempt for the 5th line. You know, people project onto them, and the longer they get to know them, their projections start to break down. Oh, she's not really the way I thought she was. Oh, he didn't do it specifically how I thought he was going to do it. And so this is why I think for 5s, like, it can be really good to be like a consultant, you know, get in, fulfill the projection that's right for you, and then get the fuck out and wait for the next opportunity to come. If you stay too long, you're screwed because they start piling all this other stuff up on top of you that isn't good for you.
Like you get disappointed in the expectation
100%.
of what, like you expected perfection, but then you realize everybody has flaws and maybe they're not.
Bingo.
Interesting.
Yeah. So 4s have a lot of friends. 5s typically have only a few close friends that they let in that projection field to really get to know them. And then we get to the 6, and the 6 is what we call the role model. The 6 is like it's like beyond the hexagram almost. It's someone who lives their life very strictly in a 3-part process. So 0 to 30, the 6 is operating like the 3. It's going through trial and error, experiential learning, what's not working, bumping into shit. It's a really messy first 30 years. 30 to 50, they go up on the roof is what we call it. And they actually take a break and they're like, fuck, what happened? Let's see what worked and what didn't work. Let me take an inventory so that I can really, after 50, step back into this role model quality and really fulfill my role as a 6 line, which is to be the role model. So I say they're like an exalted version of us because we never get to go on the roof. And I just picture myself climbing up a ladder and the 6 line just like kicking me off, you know, stay down there. You're not coming up on the roof in this life. You're going to be learning forever.
Or just Atlas. No, not Atlas. Sisyphus pushing the stone up forever.
Forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
Can you be a 5-6 or like a 1-2 or a 4-6? Like,
so there's only 12 profiles,
okay,
and it's a bit complicated to get into how it works. But we have the 1-3, the 1-4, the 2-4, the 2-5, the 3-5, the 3-6, the 3-5-3-6, the 4-1, and wait, where the 5-1, and then we have the 5-2, and the 6-2, the 6-3.
Are there any profiles that are all on the upper tribe?
So there's only one, which is the 4-6.
4-6.
Yeah.
Okay. What are those people like? Because they're super transpersonal.
They are, and they have a personal destiny. This is what's weird about the 4-6. It makes sense for us. We're 1-3s. We have the personal destiny still. The 4-6 has also the personal destiny, but they're on the other side. And I think they get a little bit of a taste because they're operating as a 3rd line those first 30 years. Yeah, I don't really know. So we have some profiles that are personal destiny and others that are transpersonal karmic lives. And if the number in front is bigger than the second number, you have a transpersonal karma.
Mm-hmm.
If your first number is smaller than the second number, then you have a personal destiny type of life.
Remind me what personal destiny, what does that mean for you guys?
It just means that we're in our own process. Our life is very much about our experience and discovery. Whereas, the 4-6 loves to spread the information. You realize there's other people out there. It's like you bump into somebody and you can have these more karmic ties.
Interesting.
Yeah. Both my parents are 6-2s. So they're very transpersonal people. They're looking out more. Oh, yeah. And my dad used to always say, or not always say, but I could just get this feeling of like, I'm selfish. I take a lot. I'm, whatever. And when I realized our profile differences, I'm like, oh, this makes a lot of sense that he would think this way. I can't help it. I can't get out of it. It's just the way that I view the world. But now that I understand it, I could see why someone would think that.
How many total lectures and tapes are recorded of this guy bringing this information? Is like 50 hours of stuff? Because it sounds like the detail in which he's probably described all these things has to be a lot.
You could study it the rest of your life if you wanted and not
really
hit the bottom.
Like it's just all recorded, or there's writings in combination?
Yeah.
Is there specific books people can read about his teachings?
Yeah.
What are some of those books?
I recommend the definitive book of human design. It's kind of like it's got all basic information, but it goes pretty much in depth. But you can go to, there's websites where you can go. The IHDS is the International Human Design School that has thousands of hours of lectures. This is where I studied in the beginning. And, what people don't realize is the pop version is selling self-empowerment and improvement. It's gotten trendy, and there's these things they say, and it kind of loses its potency of what it really was. He has a whole course on cosmology. Like, you want to talk about what the planets are and what the sun is, and like how we're imprinted with this energy, and then what consciousness is. He has courses on death and dying and the Bardo stage of what we go through when we die, and how we need to not disturb the body for 72 hours, and the journey that you go on there. He has a course on birth and pregnancy. It's so deep. And he wasn't just given human design. He was given the design of all forms. So he was given the design of the single cell birds and mammals, fish, and everything has a design to it. We all have consciousness. Everything, even the inanimate. And we are all just different filters of this consciousness stream. So he was told that the first thing that was really proven was he was told that the neutrino, which is a subatomic particle, scientists used to think it traveled at the speed of light and didn't carry any mass. And he was told in his experience that the neutrino actually has mass, and there's 3 trillion neutrinos penetrating every bit of us at all time. It's just a constant stream of these subatomic particles. And if they carried mass, when they bumped into us, they would leave some sort of imprint. They would impact the way that we are living. So he was told that each one of us is an individual because we all uniquely filter this neutrino stream, which is consciousness. And I think a few years after his thing, science came out and was like, oh, we found out that the neutrino carries mass. And I was like, oh, fuck, okay. This is wild. And there's other, it's such a weird time to be alive. I just listened to Thomas Campbell on Rogan, and it's like, there's so many of these things that are all saying the same fucking thing. Mm-hmm. It's just with a different flavor to it. Mm-hmm. But and I think it's because you're going to resonate with one, you're going to resonate with something else. We're just different. So we need to hear it from all these different angles. But if you take a look at all of them, it's all kind of saying the same thing. We're not making up consciousness. We're just filtering this giant data feed.
Yeah, everybody, like different cultures were looking at the same thing from just different angles and then made up their story about it.
Totally.
Like, oh yeah, it's like the whole cylinder trick. You hold the cylinder from the bottom, it's a circle, from the side, it's a rectangle. So like it all was the same thing. We just saw different angles. And then it sounds like what he got was a download of, hey, here's how all the shit is actually connected. Here's the full 360 rendering of the universal laws.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was he just cool. Was he just a normal dude before he fucking flew to Ibiza?
He was
like did he study these things in particular, or he's like, I'm just an auto mechanic and now Boom.
He was thought to be like genius level when he was a kid.
Okay.
Nothing crazy, just
so we need Elon taking psychedelics. We need all the geniuses to go to Ibiza and have a conference and just acid and all of it.
Yeah, he did.
Those are the people that need to be doing psychedelics.
Well, that's dude. And we can talk about psychedelics. It's like he was. I think he had a media company or something like that in advertising. He was just a normal Canadian guy with a family, and then he wakes up in Ibiza one day, and he had tripped like over 3,000 times or something like that. He took a ton of LSD. He was experimenting with ketamine. He was kind of a degenerate, off the grid in Ibiza, living with literally nothing. He lived in a tree for 3 years at one point, I think, and people would take care of him. You know, he was like a homeless person.
Lived in a tree.
Yeah,
Whoa.
he lived in a tree until someone invited him to live in the back of their house in this ruina where he actually had the.
Was he a projector?
No, he was a manifestor. Yeah, he was a manifestor.
It's on his own journey.
It's on a fucking journey. And it's so like, this is, I really encourage people to listen to his story because it's fucking recorded and you can listen to him talk about it. And there's no bullshit with this guy. It's just pure, to me, it's like, he didn't want to have this experience. Yeah. He didn't want to be a fucking guru, you know? He didn't want to, he didn't really want any of this, and it just happened to him.
Was he able to become wealthy from all of this, like when he created the school, or did he just put all this information out there and he was like, here you go?
Yeah, I think he struggled with money most of his life. And he always said, like, I can make a lot more money as a guru, and that's not me. I'm not going to do that. And you see that in so many other systems. And you start a cult, it's like, oh yeah, the cult leader makes a lot of money and has a lot of sex. And, you know.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I think he tried to do it in the most authentic way that he possibly could, which he was always a denier of any spiritual
makes me trust
stuff.
it more, the fact that he didn't like sell a course.
Also, you don't really...
He sold courses, but not in
not to
way.
that level.
And
he didn't promise anybody anything.
Yeah.
That's the key. He didn't say you're going to get rich or you're going to...
Right.
And this is why it's the hardest sell of human design if you're authentic with it. I have no fucking clue what's going to happen to you when you start to follow this. Look at my life. I had no clue this was going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not promising destinies.
No. Or a 6-figure income or whatever. So many people promise that stuff.
Yeah. Well, you know, like when you hear different religions, you always think of the leaders. When I've run across people and just heard of human design before, this is like the first time I've ever heard of the guy.
Yeah.
Like you actually talk about the guy, where before I was just like, I thought it was just, I would always come across people and they'd ask me human design. They kind of tell me a little bit, but I just thought it was somebody made an app online and you like figure out some shit.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was. And you don't really hear about the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like, oh, we follow the school of John Gottman.
Yeah, he didn't make it about him.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Which
respectable.
That's a good sign. Is he still alive?
No, he passed away. I forget how long ago.
It sucks that he didn't get to
the podcast.
Yeah.
Bro, my dream is him on Rogan.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
It's a bummer that he didn't live to 2027.
Yeah. I think he said he didn't want to see it.
Well, that's depressing. Now I'm scared too.
Do you know what, like Rogan or different people, like, have you looked up their human design?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did Rogan. I did Trump the other day with a friend that I need to publish that still. That was super fascinating. Yeah, I love looking at people who are really causing a scene.
Any fascinating ones you've looked at, like celebrities or well-known people that kind of took you aback?
Not really. Taken aback. It's more of like, when I look at a chart now, I can read the chart so quick.
Or maybe that like really made sense.
That made
You're like,
sense.
oh, fuck, yeah, this guy's for sure that.
Trump, to me.
What is his number?
He's a 1-3.
Let's go, baby.
He's a 1-3 manifesting generator.
He's on his own mission.
He's on a personal destiny. He has this frequency called the aura breaker, where it's a channel. You have channels in your human design chart that give you a major theme of your life, what you're naturally gifted at, like what comes out of you oracally. And this is like one of the most powerful ones you can have in terms of relationship, because people just think they're best friends with you all of a sudden. Like they have an ability to just break through barriers to intimacy with anybody. Oh. And I have a friend who had this, and girls would literally leave their phone number in his shoes out after yoga class. And I'm always just like, dude, how do you do this? Like, what is up? And then when you see his design and I started to understand all this, I'm like, oh, Jesus, like he just has this frequency that comes out of him, you know? So I could see with Trump, like people just, he's got that X factor. He's got that factor of like people just feel close to him.
Or they fucking hate him.
or they absolutely hate him, which that can cause, I think, the other side of
There's no middle ground.
I have my own view of why people think that they hate him, but when you look at that, Ra was told in 2027, all the institutions are going to break down. The governments are going to break down. Globalization is going to break down. He also said, which was super fascinating, that and this is depressing, but that there's so many people who are living on assistance from governments and from nonprofits. And he's like, that's going to be the first thing to go. He's like, nonprofits aren't going to have the funding that they need to feed these people anymore. And then what happened? You're like, geez, like, whoa.
Damn.
So I look at Trump and his chart and the theory of what's happening, and it's like you couldn't find a better person to stick into the movie that we're living in.
Yeah, he is an integral part of this transformation. And I've always thought that. And I was like, this has to happen, whether you like Trump or you don't like Trump. And there's things about Trump I don't like, and there's things about his decisions I don't like, of course. But it's like we have to have a fucking pattern interrupt in this government that's been running the same bullshit, crony capitalism for this long. You have to have a pattern interrupt, and it's not going to be perfect. Because a pattern interrupt can't be perfect. Yeah. So the fact that it lines up with this exactly, and like we were talking about last night, like the fourth turning and how that's coming into play, it all just lines up perfectly.
It's like, sit back and watch it happen.
100% grab the popcorn.
You can't change the world. Just like, and this is why I think it can be so healing. Human design is so healing in terms of like, to me, it's about, I'm going to let myself be myself.
Yeah.
And I'm going to let you be you. And that's like, what else do we need in the world other than like respect that we're different and letting other people be who they are without saying, you should be more like this or try to change other people. And when I look at Trump, I'm just like, he's just a person. He's just, who knows what his traumas and all of this stuff was, and he's just doing what he's doing. I don't agree with him on everything, and I don't know him personally, but when you know this stuff, it's allowed me to just sit back and not fucking worry about it. And people get so fucking worked up and worried about it. And it's just like, you're not changing anything. You're just stressing yourself out. Like,
true.
If it lights you up and brings you joy, by all means, go after it. Cool. But I don't think that's the case for most people. Mm-hmm. They can't realize we're not in control of any of this.
I think it's because there's so many people who listen. We have such a media system that influences that if it goes against the machine in any way, it convinces you that person's evil. Perfect example is, think logically as a human being. Like, Elon Musk has done such incredible things leading up to this moment. Like, think of what he's done. And I hear people try to rip him apart like, oh, he got into Tesla and he already got the patents. And they're like, what are you fucking, have you ever run a business? What are you fucking talking about? The shit that he's achieved, not only once, twice, 3 times, like,
it's just win after win and then win with that guy.
Love him, and then all of a sudden flip because you don't even realize you're being told and hypnotized to hate this. How insane, you want to kill and get rid of one of the most genius human beings in the world that's literally, he'd be Jeff Bezos on a fucking yacht, fucking tons of bitches right now.
Yeah.
Or he could just double down and keep making money in his business. You think he's going to go into the government and that's the best way to get more money? When I think he's lost something like $160 billion from Tesla, it's already gone down. Like, he's not doing a good job of stealing money. It's just so funny. And then people are like, we need change. Like, well, don't you want to tear down all this like shitty spin? Like, I love chaos. Like,
what does the chart say? Why does he love chaos, Travis?
I love when the pandemic happened because I think it woke up so many people. And as soon as it kicked off, within like a month, I was like, let's fuck it. I mean, I never stopped training people. I never listened to any of the rules. It was such an interesting reflection that, wow, I really don't give a fuck what I'm ever told what to do. Like, I do. It was such an interesting reflection of like where I would see other people and like, well, we're not allowed to go outside, or we have to wear a mask, or like people like it was like being maybe because the way when I went through school, like had no respect, like I knew it was all bullshit, and I just never listened to anything I was told to do, and like that just carried on into life, and no one could like free think for themselves. Like, why are you following these rules? Like, what does it matter? And it just was so interesting to watch, and it was kind of. It's like I was like a cowboy in the Wild West, just like watching chaos go around. Like, I'm just right over here and it's fine. I don't know how attached people were, and how many people are like stuck on the government's tit of like what to do.
Yeah.
Also, like, I don't know, like forcing people to want to get this experimental drug and this vaccine, and then like got to get a passport, and you're like, dude, you guys are. Did you not see the last opioid epidemic from all the drug companies? You're like. You think they're just like stupid. In a year they're to be trusted? I don't know. It's just so fucking wild. So I love that it's like there's only one human being that could handle the amount of absolute hate energy that probably Trump gets. I like no, like right now, AOC and Bernie Sanders are going around there calling like fight the oligarchy. You're like, you guys haven't run one fucking business. You got rich from being politicians, and half the people in your crowd are super wealthy. You're like, what are you talking about? I don't know. As like, it's so funny. It's like you guys are the demon system of like all of this. You are the spawn demons. Like, and it's like, oh, you're afraid of giving a couple tariffs. It's like it's fucking business. It's a business. Like the governments are business. The country's a business. It's like, I don't know. It's just, people are so stupid. It's just funny to watch. It's just so funny. It's like, no, blow it all up. Fuck it up. Let's go. This is great. Because shit was getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. It's like, change it up. And to me, it makes sense. It's in such alignment that it's like it's like they installed an insane virus into like the super main computer, and they're like, oh fuck, and it's like spreading, right? It's almost like dissolving the matrix of everything. All this funding that was going to other countries, trying to influence other countries to have this other ideology, which is like, it was like a fucking virus being spread everywhere, and you get to see it. It's like disgusting. Like all these different countries who were trying to influence all this, I don't know, like ways of being in their cultures, just like gross. It's like, get the fuck out of all these other people's countries. Like, leave them the fuck alone, right? And the wasting of money and just like demons. They're all fucking demons. It's like fucking burn them down. I don't know. I think it's so good. And I think, it's so like, really, I think in the next 2, 3, 4 years, it's like it's dissolving to a new like future that's never going to be again, like, or we've never had before. Like we're completely entering a new, especially with AI and all of that. We're entering into something like you said, the age of no information, or like no like information's basically.
He said that 2027 is the end of our age of information,
which makes sense because AI. Look how good AI's gotten. Like, I saw this video of like 2 individuals. It looks so real, where AI just like a year ago, you could see little tweaky things like in the video. In 1 to 2 more years, you will never know what's real or not real.
Yeah.
Like you could easily, like, I won't know. It's almost like we started before we had radio. You didn't know what was going on in the world. Then you had the radio. You only knew whatever the radio told you. Then you had TVs, and then you have everything, you know, where everything's going on everywhere. But then if you have AI, now you have no idea what's happening anywhere at all, because it all could be fake. And then it's like, we don't know anything. And then it's like probably people will turn it off.
So what's the new age we're getting into? If the old age was information, what's the new age?
Yeah, the new age, it's called the Cross of the Sleeping Phoenix. I don't really know much about
cooler name than Age of Information.
Yeah.
Or it was the Cross of Planning into the Cross of the Sleeping Phoenix, and it's more about individual survival is the theme.
Wait, I thought it was about community though.
Yeah, I think it's less. There's no more globalization. It's not like it's actually moving. If you look at, there's what we call circuitry in human design. And what we've been operating in the last 400 years is very tribal. and it's literally the channel of the marriage contract. So this is where we can see like, oh, marriage is changing, relationships are changing, our sexuality is changing. You can find all of this in the human design body graph of what he was told. And the new age that's coming is actually the manifesting generator channel, which is it's about individual survival and empowerment. So I think it's going to be much less of a sacrificial. So much of this age, in my eyes, is sacrifice yourself and your well-being for the company, for the institution, for the government. It's like we're all given a piece of ourselves. And this new age that's coming in is much more about empowering the individual to be themselves. But if you look at it in another way, it's like we're going to be busy surviving.
Okay, real quick. So do you work with a lot of couples? Like, do you meet a lot of couples and you do their human design?
Yeah. And one of my favorite things.
Like, do you work with a wide range of ages?
Yeah, very wide.
So it's like I've been going down these random YouTube channel holes about like Gen Z having harder and harder time dating. And I've seen it quite a bit with like women in the like late 20s, early 30s, but I think that's a different reason. But like, I think maybe women were focused on career and maybe some men are struggling. I think there's like multiple factors. But now with like Gen Z, which is like what, 25 or maybe 30 to 21 or I don't know, too old to figure anything out. It's almost like I think social media potentially is the main reason. And like, if you see that, like with younger people, when you've worked with like a 22-year-old, 25-year-old, like the way they think about relationships, because I'm trying to figure it out. I'll see like sometimes on YouTube, they'll do a compilation of like women be like, there's no men left. I don't understand. No one wants to commit. And then if you scroll on TikTok, there's hundreds of thousands of women that just have channels where they just post like them being kind of cute or just taking videos of them talking, but you know it's just to get likes and attention, which once a young girl probably has an addiction of her follower count's going really far up, she's posting multiple times a day on TikTok, she's never going to be able to be in a relationship, I would imagine, because to be in a relationship with a girl that's so addicted to the attention like a video game from just posting little things that are subtly trying to be cute, but framing it as it's like a vlog, but it's a lot of male attention. How can you get away from that addiction in some ways? And I think that's part of the problem ruining too. I wonder what you see.
It's interesting to me to me, the problems don't matter, because when you look at what he was told in human design, this is just our natural trajectory of what's going to happen.
So just don't worry about it.
And another thing he said is at the end of an era, it's like when something's about to die, it does everything it can to survive, and it takes like that last huge breath. So he was shown, which is so happening, that you're going to see like crazy religious fundamentalist movements happen. You're going to see like the government fighting for its life, and you're going to see, in my opinion, these I think this is why you see such a pushback on the trans stuff and homosexuality. It's because the way of life that we've known it for 400 years, which is monogamy and marriage and, you know, what we consider normal, it's dying, and people unconsciously know that it's dying. So we have to go back to it's like when abortion got put back on the in the States. I'm like, no, but everybody's for pro-choice. Like, who the fuck is like, that's not a thing anymore. Like, why are we rehashing this? You know, 70-80% of the United States would vote for pro-choice. But then I know human design, I'm like, oh, it's all the fundamentalist stuff coming back up to the surface because that shit's going away. So they're just like, they're
hanging on by a thread.
They're hanging on by a fucking thread.
Yeah. I also think, though, I think you're right, but I also think that no one really, except for a really small population, gives a fuck about any of that stuff. Like, no one gives a fuck if you're gay. No one really actually gives a fuck if you're trans. Like,
yeah,
it's the media that intensifies it and then frames it in a way to create us in constant conflict with each other. Like,
Sure.
Like it's the stupidest thing. Like same. We were like, remember as kids growing up, it was like, don't see race or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then now, like, I don't know, 5-10 years ago, it's like everything's about race. And I remember scratching my head. I was like, I thought we were taught not to see race. And now everyone's becoming racist to not be racist. I'm like, I don't understand what's happening. It's like they brought it back to make chaos again. You're like, what the fuck is happening?
Uh-huh.
It's so weird. Like no one actually gives like I went to Thailand when I was 20 years old, right? That was 20 years ago. There's lady boys dancing on tables, families hanging out.
Yeah.
No one gives a fuck. It was like a dude it was a hot chick with a penis. You're like, cool. They had it figured out a long time ago, right? And there's been trannies in the US for a long time. No one gives a fuck. There was like Mrs. Doubtfire, like no one give a shit, like whatever. But then it just stirs shit up.
I don't think Mrs. Doubtfire was a tranny, dude.
No, but like nowadays, if you probably made a movie about that, you would see the right versus the left making some stupid arguments about this is influencing children this way, or like no, or what. It's like everything's got to be fucking us against us.
Yeah,
and it's just slowing down just us doing cool shit.
Yeah, there used to be so many comedies and movies like my mic keeps going limp. What's the one?
Showgirls. Remember Showgirls? There was a movie called Showgirls. It was like these famous athletes, and they dressed up as women, and they were like showgirls or something. Like there was all kinds of movies.
Chicks.
There's all kinds of movies where there
couldn't even run The Office nowadays.
Yeah, it's like how did we become such fucking pussies? Like I don't know. It's like we were already so open-minded in the 90s.
90s was peak humanity.
It was pretty good.
We've gone downhill.
Yeah. I don't know. Whatever.
I might disagree with that.
You don't think 90s was peak?
I think the 90s was so cringe, man.
What was cringe
just
about
just like boring and like gross style and just like there wasn't much substance. I feel like now the blessing and the curse is substance and like spirituality. Like we have access to so much information, which is a blessing, but also you can see the dark side and the bullshit side of it as well.
Totally.
I think it's more interesting.
Coming to light. Like you said, it's bubbling to the surface.
Yeah.
Okay, let me rephrase. I think 90s was peak peace.
It was,
There was peace in the 90s for the most part.
It was an easier life. Simple life.
Yeah.
Not much pressure.
You weren't thinking too much about all the chaos and all the like polarity of the world.
There's a good Rogan episode that just came out last week where he interviews this guy who was like a chess champion when he was like 12.
Yeah.
And they get in a really interesting discussion about AI. And he basically, like, after they get in the discussion, basically like the highest level chess master as a kid is like a rating of 1600 on this like chess scale. An adult is like 2600, and then the highest rating current AI robot in chess is like 3800. And he's like, eventually all robots will be 3800 and then compounded and then even greater. So they'll be as smart as like a human adult to a child running everything. And he said something interesting that I've been thinking, how do I implement this? He's like, if it was me, I would get off all social media. And I think he's right, because there's like once it flips over and you're not going to know when it happens, when you have AI that strong and it's trying to influence you to do something, you will do it. Like you can't, like if something's that much smarter than you and it convinces you of something, it could totally just get you to do it. Like you can't fight it. It's like a grandmaster AI robot. And then you have a bunch of them and then you just boom, and you're not going to know as it's happening. It's just going to be kind of a slow thing. So you're like, how do you actually unplug to be? Because it's going to get into your brain.
Well, we've covered this. We need the new autistic species of children that will fight against the AI.
Do you go on social media? Like, what do you think?
I love social media, but I use it as a platform just to express myself and share about human design and my life. I don't consume much at all. I don't follow much human design people. Like I really use it to share and connect, and that's it.
That's pretty good.
And I don't fuck with AI either. I don't do Chat GPT. I don't do Grok. I don't do any of that.
You got to start being nice to it. It's got to know who you are.
I don't give a fuck.
It's so good. I think it's amazing. I love AI, but I think social media is it's going to be a strong weapon. It's like if you've ever seen somebody watch TikTok and get addicted to it, it's fucking crazy. They talk about that on the episode where he's like sitting on the plane watching this guy just flip for like 2 hours straight on the plane. It's amazing how it can just hook you in.
Yeah, I can scroll on it. So every once in a while I get in a doom scroll on Instagram. Sure, it's easy. Yeah, it's like such a dopamine release.
It's like another universe, because if you had no social media, like if you didn't have YouTube, like for a year, you would be in literally almost a different reality. Like you would have a different reality. Like think of all the friends you probably connect with or communicate or things that you learn. You would completely be in a different, like it'd be like you're outside of the culture almost in some ways. It'd be very interesting.
Yeah. Well, he also was told that the internet's going to crash at some point. So
that'll be super interesting. Then maybe people will go back to dating after that. They're like, I don't know what's going on right here.
Well, he also said that reproduction is going down and that's not going to come back. So
that's for sure happening.
Yeah. I think we need that. I think we need the internet to crash.
Sure.
Yeah. We need a reset. Just like with the government, need a fucking reset.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does human design and like all the things he's saying about the internet crashing and like this transition into a new realm, I guess when you go through that and from what you know, we have his predictions, but what are your predictions of what might come next?
I think it feels like something major is coming. I don't know what it is. I don't think it's going to be good. In terms of, I just think that life as we've known it for 400 years is going away and we don't know what's coming. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be extremely difficult for a lot of people who are not prepared for it.
Yeah.
Or really for the people who are reliant on the government or his whole thing with human design is this is a system so you can learn to trust yourself because you're not going to be able to trust anybody else. There's no outer authority coming to save you anymore. So this is a system for you to tap into your inner truth so that you can survive and live a life that's enjoyable. Mm-hmm. So I really think what we're going to continue to see is the breakdown and the dying of the society that we've built. And how or what, before COVID happened, I think people in human design, I found human design right at COVID. And I think people in human design before that were like, there's no fucking way 2027 is going to be this massive shift. Like that doesn't make sense. We're not going to be able to get there fast enough. And then COVID happened and people are like, what the actual fuck? And now it's like happening faster than he said it was going to happen. So I don't know what's coming, but I think it's just going to be very different. And this is why I always tell people like, don't, like you said earlier, you're not saving anything. There's nothing to save anymore. Transformation's coming. Change is happening. Like, it's all going away. So don't cling to it. Don't try to save it. You're just going to frustrate yourself and get ready to embrace a new way of living. And it's interesting when everybody's having the same ideas to think like, okay, there's got to be something to this. Everybody started wanting to grow their own food. Everybody thinks they're going to be co-living in smaller communities, supporting each other. Like we have these collective themes that are so obvious to see. And it's hard for me to think that isn't going to play into what's coming next if we're going to need to support each other in a different way and not rely on our outside governments and authorities.
Yeah. You said something interesting about making decisions not from the brain, but of the, what was it?
Just from your body.
From your body?
Yeah, the wisdom of your body.
And Brent kind of asked a question, but I still don't fully understand it.
Yeah.
How do you know when you're making a decision from your brain or from your body?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have these different, if you look at your chart, there's these different centers. And so you'll have certain centers activated and certain centers not activated. And depending on which ones you have, we'll find what we call your inner authority, where you make decisions from. I'm a splenic projector. So my spleen is where I make decisions from. Spleen is about instinct and intuition. So I'm designed to be a very existential, primitive kind of decision maker in the moment, if it feels good, or if it's almost like it's happening and I'm not even really making a decision. That's what I move with. I get spontaneous invitations. I know I'm going and I go. I'm not much of a planner. This is kind of how I'm designed to make decisions. So how the fuck do I know if it's right or not in the moment? I don't know. Like, I don't think you can really know, but what you can do, which is so helpful in human design, is each type is given 2 themes. One is your not self theme, what you experience when you're out of alignment. The projectors is bitterness. My whole life was so fucking bitter. It's like the perfect word to describe what I experienced as a projector, and so many projectors relate is I was just bitter. I don't belong here. I don't fit into this whole thing. Everyone's moving too fast for me. I don't understand energy. I'm unproductive. I'm never going to make it. Like just a flavor of bitterness. So that's an indicator, a signpost that, hey, I'm out of alignment. I was trying to initiate. I was trying to go after it. I was posting hustle culture stuff. Like I was just grinding, which is not the projector way. So my life now is, I don't remember the last time I was really bitter. Like my other theme is success, which this would be interesting to break down our themes because I've correlated it with that recent Rogan episode on consciousness, and I think it fits perfectly. So I just live my life and I say, okay, if I'm feeling more recognized as a projector and more successful, then I must be making aligned decisions with my body. If I'm more bitter, I must be making mental decisions. And then we get into the open centers in the chart, and each open center has a theme. So the most common one is to have an open ego or an open heart center. And if you have an open ego in your design, your theme, that is the way you make mental decisions is saying, I need to prove myself in this life. So I'm going to overcommit to things. I'm going to overpromise things. I'm going to people please. I'm going to do all of this to try to prove my worth or that I'm worthier and that I'm a good friend or whatever. So each open center carries what we call a not self theme, and just learning these themes, you are like, holy fuck, my whole life has been making mental decisions based on my open centers, which is who I'm not. Your open centers are who you're not. Who you are the defined centers, the centers that are colored in. So for me, learning all of my open center themes, when I had a decision come to me, I'm like, oh wow, I have an open solar plexus. I'm avoiding truth and confrontation again because emotions aren't comfortable for me consistently. I'm not meant to consistently process them. And I was conditioned to avoid, in order to avoid feeling nervous or feeling uncomfortable or having any deep intimacy in my life. So it's so easy when you learn these themes, when a decision comes, you're like, fuck, okay, am I going to avoid truth and confrontation again? Or am I just going to get into my body and see what's healthy for me spleenically to decide with? So we have these really cool themes that we can learn, and then you can't unsee it. And it's not even about making perfect decisions all the time. It's just like, I'm so fucking tired of avoiding truth and confrontation. Like, am I going to do it again? And you just get bored of yourself. And then it's like, okay, well, on the other side of this is a possibility, is the unknown. And that's fucking scary, but let's go there. Let me try to, let me see what's there for me. That has nothing to do with who I'm not, and everything to do with what I'm supposed to be, how I'm supposed to be operating in this life. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And so I'm an ego manifestor.
Yeah.
So I make decisions from my ego.
From your ego, which is pretty a rare authority to have. Not many people have their ego as their inner authority.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then what's my not self? And what do I feel when I'm not self, and what do I feel when I'm self?
So the manifestor not self theme is anger.
Okay.
And it's really interesting when you talk about manifestor men and women, because men, I feel like, have more of a permission slip to express their anger in ways that are healthy. Whereas women manifestors tend to take their anger and turn it inside, and it turns into resentment. Yeah. And they have a lot of resentment that they need to deal with. So the manifestor not self theme is anger. So if you're angry a lot in your life, which I've seen a lot in manifestors, something's out of alignment. Typically, you're not informing or letting people into your life because you're scared of intimacy, or you're avoiding truth and confrontation with the open solar plexus, or you're always in a hurry with an open root, or one of these other themes. What's your relationship to anger? To
anger?
Yeah,
yeah. I've definitely felt anger for a multitude of reasons, but again, having been taught over years to suppress anger, I think I've also turned it into resentment. And recently I've found, over the last couple of years, found the value in expressing anger, especially for men. Like we just have more testosterone. It's like you got to get the anger out in some fashion, and it makes sense that as an ego manifestor, like anger's just a part of it. But I feel like I've transmuted anger a lot. But it definitely comes up. And yeah, now I'm going to be more aware of it, of like what decisions am I making that lead to anger. Yeah. So what's myself then? What feels good?
Peace.
Hilarious.
Right?
Hilarious. That's when I'm like thinking about what do I want, or if I'm doing any journaling, it's like, what am I trying to call in? The word is always peace. What do I want? It's just fucking peace. I want some goddamn peace. Interesting.
I just love when people resonate with it, because it's literally all the time, and they're just two words, but they carry such meaning.
Yeah.
For each of us.
I was literally thinking about it this morning. It's like, how do I get more peace?
And what does peace actually mean for you in your life? Like, what does having peace look like?
Yeah, to me, it looks like not having to be stressed in the day-to-day. Like, not in a hurry, not feeling behind, feeling like you're caught up, feeling like I can just relax and things are good. I always feel it's like I'm juggling plates and they're on fire. It's like, how can I just put the fires out and set the plates down for a second? Like, that would be peace to me. It's like, just not have to do a bunch of things.
Yeah.
And I can like sit and relax, and I know that the world around me is going to keep moving in a positive direction, instead of me having to forcefully move the world in a positive direction for myself.
Yeah.
Do you know what mine is? Does it say on the chart?
Yeah.
What?
Yours.
He already knows. He's ready.
He's locked in.
Oh, I'm locked in.
He's fucking locked in.
He knows already. He's like, of course I know.
We haven't got to your not self, which is
yeah, I want to know his.
For the generator and the manifesting generator, your not self theme is frustration, and it can carry a little bit of anger. If you're a manifesting generator, it can have a feeling of anger. The biggest difference is manifesting generator anger is like, yeah, you're angry. It can be kind of cute sometimes, it's not like manifestor anger is like scorched earth. I'm going to fucking murder you and you're dead to me forever. Like, it can really get to a scary level. So yours is more because you have, your sacral center is where your truth lives as a generator or manifesting generator. If you're emotional, it's a bit different, but we talk about the sacral center. And this is sexuality and work, creation, the caring, like so much of what we consider normal comes out of the sacral. So you get to hold that. And when you're in your not self, you feel energetically frustrated, stuck. Why is it not, where's the satisfaction? Why am I so frustrated with the way I'm using my energy? Well, you're probably saying yes to things that you don't really want to do because you have a lot of energy at your disposal, or you're saying no to a big desire that you have out of fear of fitting in or rejection or whatever the case may be. So yours is really about like, how can I live a life where I'm really a fuck yes to most of the things that I'm doing, and I can set a clear boundary when it's not correct for me. And that just comes out of your body. Has nothing to do with the mind. It's just, are you excited or are you not? Are you turned on? Are you turned off? Is there a energetic response that I want to do this thing, or is there no response? And you're like, fuck. And then the mind is like, well, you should do it because this, and this. So you override it, and then you get frustrated. Or you shouldn't do it because that's not good. You said you're a vegan and there's a piece of steak in front of you and your body's like, fuck it, give me the steak. No, I have to be moral, so I'm not going to eat the steak. Well, now you're hurting your body and what it wants. How do you relate with frustration?
Probably.
Probably.
I feel like I like to create things, and I fucking hate when it's like not successful. It drives me insane. Like, we've created a lot of stuff together. It drives me so crazy when things like, because like with my other like personal training business, I can do things and I can see results over time, and then I can be successful at it. Things that creating where they don't pop off right away, whether it's creating content or like with our Amazon stuff, it drives me insane. Like it drives me crazy. Like, yeah, I can get frustrated with things for sure. I don't know. My brain's a little bit starting to frazzle inside my brain. That's probably my
His
rant.
brain is starting to frazzle inside his brain. That should give you an insight.
You don't have one in your chart.
Right? Yeah. Empty, smooth brain.
Big empty space.
No thoughts.
Right here.
You got a smooth
what
brain.
is wide open?
I know it. Doc, he's toast. What is it when it's not? What's the opposite of frustrated?
Satisfied.
Oh, okay.
I fucking cranking it. It's efficient, and wow, the returns are effortless. It's just easy. The key in yours really is there's a need to prove yourself with an open ego. Okay, am I making it? Any decision you make with a sense of proving something, it's coming from the mind. Then you have an open solar plexus, avoid truth and confrontation, like me. Big one. Then you have an open ajna, like me. We'll go with the open head. The open head is thinking about things that don't matter. The open ajna is needing to be 100% certain about those things. So the positive is you can be inspired by anything and everything. You can go down crazy rabbit holes probably. And you just can be obsessed with information. This has nothing to do with your life. You need to understand with an open head, which 70% of people have an open head center. It's the most open center out there. What questions inspire you and what questions are bringing you anxiety and you're not self-themed? Yeah. That's the most important, because as an open head-centered person, society and other people stick fucking questions in there that drive us insane, that have nothing to do with our life. Nothing to do with making you a satisfied person. Everything to do with proving something, everything to do with avoidance, everything to do with all of my open centers. It's so easy. And the way that people make money a lot of times in the spirituality space or in any of this empowerment stuff, you're selling people inspiration. You're selling people information. Hey, you need another course. Hey, you don't know enough yet. Hey, let me feed you more and more and more. And you have everything you need to make a change, which human design gives you two very simple things to do. But your open head is fucking with your life and saying you need more before you actually can do anything. And it's not true. So for you, it's like, how do you live a life that's just doing the things that are fucking satisfying? And if you're doing something a different way, which is hard because you have the most, as a manifesting generator, the most energy potential to manifest and generate, it's like, wow, you could really get a lot done in this life. You could really do a hell of a lot. You're kind of the one at the top that's supposed to show everybody what the potential of being a human is, energetically speaking. Amy's a manifesting generator. It's like, I don't know how she does all the things that she does. But if you're doing it mentally because you think it's going to take you somewhere, you're fucked. If you're doing it because your body is so excited about it and you're turned on by it, that's going to be smooth sailing and easy to accomplish a lot, where you're going to get a lot in return, if that makes sense.
Cool. That makes a lot of sense.
We should do readings, like a full reading.
Yeah.
Not right now.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Yeah. It's a powerful combo. Yeah. Manifestor and MG, because you got the
go baby.
Yeah. There's a lot of it's just a huge energy potential to do a lot. It's just,
I feel it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, dude, that was pretty mind blowing.
Thank you so much for all of this information.
Totally. Yeah, it's amazing.
It's fun. I would never get to go deep into all the other stuff. A lot of people are like, what are the 4 types? And tell me the thing. So it's the time for people to realize what human design is.
Right.
It's so much more.
I think this, we could go a lot deeper, but I think we really opened people's eyes to the depth that it is.
Yeah.
It probably, hopefully by the end of this episode, people are really curious.
Yeah.
Like got their mind really churning and thinking about it. A lot.
Yeah, because it's changed my life completely. Like it's transformed everything, and it has the potential to do that for everybody. Yeah. And then to go get crazy with it. It's so
you do
fun.
Readings before we go. How do people connect with you if they want to do a reading, or couples want to do readings? Because couples is super powerful. You've told us some amazing stories, and I think the better you can understand your partner, the better your life will probably be. Yeah. And how do they contact you and all that? Yeah,
it can really transform relationships when you just accept each other where you're wired differently, where you're the same. It's mind-blowing. The best place to find me is on Instagram, travis.day. I have a link tree on there. I'm starting a projector community coming up that I'm super excited about. So you can literally find everything on that one link.
And projectors, you are cordially invited.
You
Just
are
remember that. You've officially been invited.
Officially invited.
Awesome, brother. Well,
thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you, Travis. It's been awesome.
This has been one of my favorite conversations ever. So
nice.
I appreciate
Let's go.
it.
Testimonial. Yeehaw.